That was awesome. That was f***ing awesome.
Hello and welcome to the Pregame show. We have two guests coming up. Joining us in just a minute, we will have Dan Holme of the Bucs Report, Bucs Minutecast. He'll be joining us. We're going to talk all pregame stuff about our Tampa Bay Buccaneers going over to San Fran to go hopefully beat those 49ers. Guys, it's been a heck of a week. We did pip a game that we did not expect to win, but it was fun nonetheless. All I can say is sweeping the Saints. We ain't done that in 15 years. I don't even think I was a Bucs fan back then because I didn't know what football was. So straight away, I'm going to have a look at my first guest. I will be introducing Dan Holme of the Bucs Report Minutecast. Welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good too. Just enjoying the red zone stuff that's on at the moment, and see how hopefully get a fancy team into playoff contention.
Yeah, so I mean the big news that I've heard thus far is that Nick Bosa is going to be playing today. So there was kind of hopes out there that he wasn't going to play. As we know, the 49ers defense is pretty good. So I was kind of hoping that he wouldn't be in there, but it looks like the Bucs are going to have their hands full today.
Absolutely. I mean, they had their hands full last week. It's going to be interesting to see who they're going to pick on. Are they going to go and pick on the backup, or are they going to go and pick up on the starter that's really struggling? It's kind of like, which one do we like the matchup on? I'm not too sure if they're of a defensive end off the top of my head, but I suppose it doesn't really matter who you put. They should be having I mean, if you're looking at this Bucs offensive line at the moment, it's a pretty beat up at this point in time. So you'd be thinking, this could be a day.
Yeah, and I mean, my big thing to look for here is that we know that Jalen Darden was cut from the team. So this looks like it's going to be a good opportunity for Devin Tompkins. He was elevated from the practice squad, is active, and can make his NFL debut. He was on the 53-man roster, but was inactive versus Falcons, and undrafted rookie from Utah State. So I'm looking ultimately to see what they have in Devin Tompkins. He was one of the guys that we saw in the preseason, and then all of a sudden he kind of just faded away a little bit. I guess Jalen Darden was revered as one of the best returners in the NFL. It just they don't get quite the return that they used to now that they have active gunners and everything involved.
Absolutely, and we'll talk a little bit about Jalen Darden. He goes, and I think that what they wanted to do was probably hope that he would stick on the practice squad, and that way they could go and actually have a look at Devin Tompkins and not lose him. But he does get swept up by the Browns and doesn't get to hit the practice squad. The only thing I was and I want to get your take on this. Anything I didn't like about this, he wasn't a bad punt returner. He wasn't a great kick returner. The kick return seemed to be his big weakness, and obviously he doesn't contribute much on offense very much. But the thing I didn't like about it is we don't know what we got in Devin Tompkins. He hasn't played live football in a while, and when he did go on, it was against people at the similar level to him. He wasn't going on against ones. He was going on against threes, twos, and maybe some fours stringers. So it's not the same. It's not a like for like. And I was a bit like, you don't replace a guy until you know the guy you've got in front of. You've got a guy who's ready to go in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of an odd move for me that they released him. I think then, if I heard right, he got picked up by the Browns right away. So he has another opportunity out there. And if memory serves, Jalen Darden was one of the guys that the Bucs let go, I want to say last year, and then they reclaimed him, if memory serves. But in any event, it'll be a good opportunity for Tompkins. Another person's name I saw circulated in that mix was Scotty Miller. I am a huge Scotty Miller fan. Tom Brady called him the fastest guy on the team. The only exception, I think, was when Cyril Grayson was on the team, and he was that track star from LSU. But I would like to see what Scotty Miller has. I think that, sometimes he's a little over the top when he makes his catches, like one's thrown right at his numbers, and he jumps in the air and makes like this very dramatic catch, when I think that if he would just kind of reel it in a little bit, maybe he would have a little bit more success. But in any case, I do think it's going to be a fun game to watch. And just a bit of news that I thought was funny. We know that Tom Brady is the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. You think that he could get whatever he wanted to get. For his return to the Bay Area, Tom Brady requested 83 tickets for family and friends to attend today's game. I'm told they'll be sitting in the nosebleeds. Immediate family was offered better seats, but they declined so they could sit with the group. Rain could force them inside. But, kind of an interesting thing. You think Tom Brady would have the pull that he could have him sitting right along the field if you want. But it just goes to show you even the GOAT and his reputation and his money can only go so far.
Absolutely, and that's part of it. Is that it's just, if it's a sold-out stadium, you've got to go with the spaces, I guess. But you think they might have an executive Tom Brady suite or something like this, just because of the
another crazy stat too is as I was reading that this is only his second time returning to playing there, which seems odd to me. He's played in the league for so many years that. For whatever reason, he just hasn't played in his hometown too often, but it'll be a good opportunity for him. There was an interesting piece I was reading before I came on earlier this afternoon. They were talking about Rick Stroud was saying that there's kind of more momentum going on out there, that the 49ers are actively kind of pursuing Tom Brady when the season's over to try to lure him to the 49ers. At first, they kind of seemed a bit on the fence about doing that, but now it seems that, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season, that, potentially he could seek one last hurrah, if you will, playing for his hometown team in San Francisco. Kind of an interesting move. I was speaking with James Yarko, and he was thinking that it was going to be a lock that Tom Brady was going to come back to the Bucs, but it sounds like there's a lot more options for him than first thought.
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. It does seem like kind of a Tom Brady kind of move, but I think that there's the logistical side of things. Like, where's his family actually at the moment? We know that they probably have houses in California. They have houses in Tampa. They have houses probably littered across the states. So it's kind of a case of how does that work? Because we know that his eldest son Jack lives and started playing high school football, New York, for a New York high school. So that's a much bigger plane ride. So I think you've got to take that into account. I'm not saying it's off the table. What a way to finish your career, to go back to the place where it inspired you to play the game in the first place. So I can see the romantic side of that story, but then you've got to look at the nuts and bolts, and the nuts and bolts are telling me, well, how's his family life going to stack up in this? Because He don't talk about being a family man. He is deeply connected, and then we can all turn around and go, well, he didn't care about his family when he decided to come back to football. Trust me, he has plenty of time to spend with the kids once the football season's done. He's got plenty of time. But for me, it'd be interesting, because I think that's what it can be. There's only 3 places he's going to go. I think he either returns to the Bucs. Another romantic story is that he could go to Patriots. I just don't see it happening. I don't think he wants to go back to cold weather, and I don't think Bill Belichick could take that medicine. I think that's going to have to be a lot of sugar in that medicine. That spoonful is going to be, it's got to be sweet. He's not going to stomach it very well, to say, I tried to run you out of town, you ran out of town, you proved that you were better than me, and now I've got to take you back cap in hand. I just don't see that happening. As much as Patriots fans would love it, I don't see it. The San Fran one is an interesting one, because it still stays in this it still stays in this conference. It's where he really, if he wants to be competitive, who wants to go up against in the playoffs? You'll go play Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and whoever else is evolving at the time. There's plenty of good quarterbacks in the AFC. Not to say there's no bad ones there's only bad ones in the NFC, but it's a little bit more of an easier route to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, just taking a look, there are some beat writers that are talking about in the New England area that, it would make a good return for him to come back for one last season. What a great storybook ending, for him to come back to where it kind of all started and win one more Super Bowl for him. But, the question is, we often heard in the offseason when he was retired or was going to retire, that he retired due to internal pressures. We know, I think that is Giselle now. Is he going to ultimately want to play for one more season now that he doesn't have that pressure to retire? My big question in all of this is he has 7 Super Bowl rings. Is that 8th Super Bowl ring going to unlock happiness in his heart? And then is he going to be able to hang it up after that? Or is it so much unfinished business that he didn't make, to the Super Bowl last season, that it just seems also odd for me that that he even wants to come back at this point, being that he has that lucrative broadcasting deal. One of the other bigger stories, I think, in today's game is Leonard Fournette being out, and then Antoine Winfield Jr., last I heard, was out. So this is going to be another great opportunity to see what Rachaad White has in the tank, and then to see who else is elevated, because Rachaad White's not going to be able to do all of them. I assume Keyshawn Vaughn or Giovanni Bernard, something like that. But it's going to be interesting at that running back position to see what the Bucs have without Leonard Fournette. We remember last year he was injured as well, and these depth players had to rise to the challenge. But what are some of your outlooks at the running back position?
This is the game that we will have to establish the run. I also believe we can establish the run by throwing the ball as well. So look, Rachaad White, so far, I'm looking at his. I'll just pop up his stats right this second. I don't have them written down, but I did have a little look at them today. Today. He's not far off Leonard Fournette's stats, considering how little he started in comparison. He's just exploded big when he's had the chance. This is a guy who's really taken his moment, so to speak, with the team. And I can't, to be honest, I can't be nothing but happy for him, because this is a great moment for him. He gets another chance to be the starter, and he is proving to the Buccaneers that he can be that guy if the Buccaneers wanted to move away from Leonard Fournette. I know they have money and contract years tied up in him. We know that running back position is probably one of the most expendable positions in football, because let's face it, a lot of people just go into the second round and draft one. I'm not saying you can always hit, because we haven't hit big on running backs for quite a while. The last, big name running back that we probably had was Doug Martin, and ever since then, it's kind of been a struggle to get going. And it's only since Leonard Fournette has emerged, and he's never been I don't believe he's ever been 1,000-yard rusher for us. We still haven't got that 1,000-yarder yet. The lights are on White, and I think he'll shine to the occasion. He brings something different, and I think he's playing smarter every time he steps onto that field, and that's what I've liked to see from him.
Yeah, and if memory serves, the Bucs have him under contract. He'll be a free agent in 2025. But the interesting position is that he kind of, when he was playing in Jacksonville, he was a little bit unhappy playing there because he wasn't necessarily getting all the time that he wants. And then he had to be consoled by Rachaad White, the rookie, this season, because he wasn't getting enough time. Is that Leonard Fournette, despite his contract, is he going to want to stick around if Rachaad White, for some reason, is promoted to the number one running back for the team? It's kind of interesting. He's kind of, I think that Rachaad White in these last couple games has come on really strong. And I think that he is kind of solidifying himself on this team. I know there's depth, like I spoke of, Keyshawn Vaughn and Giovanni Bernard. But for me, ultimately, that's the number one, number two there. I would like to see a little bit more from Keyshawn Vaughn, though. I remember he stepped up admirably last season. And in limited play this season, I think he's played well. So I would like to get a better look at him as well as Giovanni Bernard, because he's also been bit by the injury bug so much that I'd ultimately like to see what this Bucs team has in the tank at the running back position.
That's one of these things that they need to be creative. For example, I know AJ's not able to do today because he's got family who randomly arrived on his doorstep, so he's had to take care of business with them. But he's always said he likes seeing the running backs to chip. What I like is once you've got them chipping, then you can get a fake chip going on, that release, and everyone bites on it because they're like, oh, he's going blocked. We'll leave it. We'll fit the run. And then you open up. It's a beautiful thing. And that's what I like. I want to see creativity from this Buccaneers offense, because our blocking scheme seems very simple. And that might be because of the shorthandedness on the offensive line. It doesn't seem very cohesive. It's a bit messy, and I wouldn't say getting worse, but it just doesn't seem right. And it doesn't seem. I think once we hit that Seahawks game, we think, okay, now we're getting on a roll, and then we took a step back, and then we took a step forward, and it just feels like we're kind of sputtering a little bit. But what I'd like to see is this Buccaneers offense just open up the playbook and go lights out just for one game. We haven't had that. We haven't had that game where the Buccaneers had other teams, even poor teams in this league like the Jags. They've had games where they put up points and really took it to a team. We haven't had that. We just sit on a lead, or we just play our generic stuff, even if we're only, because they know they're only like 10 points down or something. You don't have to play too crazily. I'd just like us to throw a few haymakers and just see if we can land a couple, because Tom Brady for passing deep shots down the field, it isn't that low. It's just connecting on them that's been the issue here.
Yeah, and he seemed to. I mean, obviously, Godwin is his number one target out there. He likes Tom Brady likes to go back to guys he knows can catch the football, and Mike Evans has seen some kind of limited activity, especially in the last game, and it's a bit surprising to me. I think that for the Bucs to establish, airing out the football and making those great catches is to get Mike Evans more involved out there, and because Tom Brady excels when he's able to throw those really great passes out there. And like you were talking about, to get on the scoreboard right away. And then another guy they're looking forward to getting more production from is Keanu Neal. As we know, he was the one that kind of busted the football loose from Taysom Hill, redeeming himself after that blown coverage. If he can step up and do that again, I mean, I think that, you could draw lines that if he did not make that play, the Bucs would have probably lost the football game. And, everyone would have been talking about, why didn't Todd Bowles do this or that? It differs. Just taking a look at it. But when let's take a look back at the last game and just kind of talk about how great it was. They were trailing 16-3 with 5:34 remaining in the game. The Buccaneers had just a 0.7 chance of winning. The Bucs late game comeback goes down as the fourth most improbable of the next gen stats era, which goes all the way back to 2016 based on NGS win probability. Tom Brady completed 4 of his final 19 after starting the game 22 for 35. So, I mean, if there's one thing I'm going to take away from that last game against the Saints is just the swagger that Tom Brady must have and the rest of the team have now that they were able to pull it off. He joked in the press conference, he said, just like we drew it up. Obviously, he was joking there, but if they can take some of that positivity and that swagger going forward and use it in this game, I mean, like I told you, I just was talking about the stats there. The odds were stacked against the Bucs winning that game. I really thought they were going to lose until that last drive there. But so, stepping up from Keanu Neal and these guys, we know that the Bucs are dealing with a myriad of different injuries on this team. Antoine Winfield is a huge one for me. Tristan Wirfs, despite the fact that Tom Brady kind of jumped and Tristan Wirfs picked him up in the air, how bad is that high ankle sprain anyway? So I think that, it's going to be a lot of these depth guys working together and hopefully can pick up a big win. Like we talked about, the 49ers defense is stout, so it is going to be a tall task for this Bucs team to pick up a W this afternoon.
And my biggest takeaway for this Buccaneers football team is the defense has to get takeaways because they need to allow this Buccaneer offense to have shorter field so they don't have to drive from the 25 or even the 30. They can drive from the 50 or they can drive from field goal position. And this way they can still add points. Keep that scoreboard ticking. It doesn't have to. I can live with freeze if we're not giving up points. But obviously, we want a splash. We want to see this. We know the potential of this offense, and I think that's the most hair pulling out thing and hair graying thing for this as a Buccaneers fan at the moment is knowing there's so much talent and potential out there, and it's just not coming into fruition. And I think they'll figure it out eventually. I mean, Tom Brady has a tendency at the moment to be rushing his throws. I don't believe he's that comfortable. But I always look back and I remember watching if you remember watching the Rams game last year in the playoffs, we played very similar to this all the way until the defense bailed us out a little bit. Don't get me wrong, they gave up some touchdowns, but they kind of had a moment where they went, enough's enough, put their foot down, popped a ball out here and then, gave a few short fields, and Tom Brady was able to capitalize. And I said to my wife at the time, I said, all Tom needs to do is just trust Mike completely. Just if Mike Glennon can made a career throw into him. Most of Jameis Winston's touchdown passes, were to him. Most, Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're going to name all these quarterbacks that aren't really anything anymore. Had career days throw into a career day or two, or where they were Air Player of the Week or something like that. Throw in to Mike Evans. Mike Evans is the epitome of no risk it, no biscuit. That he is. But at the same time, it's not that so bad because you can put it on the top shelf and he's just going to go up, climb the pocket. If he comes down with it, he comes down with it. If he doesn't, no one else is going to catch it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to rely a little bit more on Mike Evans, and he is capable of doing that. I mean, if you think of some of the most highlight reel catches in recent memory or the last couple of years, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have been in those. So, I mean, to have Mike Evans engaged, I think is going to be great. And to your point, talking about even going back to the Jameis years, which I mean wasn't that long ago. Even Jameis found great success with Mike Evans. But that's what they're going to have to do is just kind of spread it all out a little bit, and then to see what they have in the run game going, like we were talking about before with Rashad White, and see what they have there. But it's going to be a tough game playing today. But the one player they're going to need to have playing a little bit more disciplined is Donovan Smith. You take a look. If the Bucs would have lost that game, you could have also drawn a lot of lines to Donovan Smith. Bucs had only 4 penalties in Monday's win, 2 holds by Donovan Smith in the fourth quarter, 1 earlier by Josh Wells in a pass interference call on Carlton Davis. Smith now has a team high 9 flags, including 5 holds, all in the last 7 games. So, and they were kind of questioning him about that as well, asking him if there's some kind of underlying injury, and he got a bit defensive, saying, "Listen, I'm out there on almost every play. I don't miss time." Basically saying, give me a little bit of a break out there. But if they would have lost that game because of stupid penalties, i.e. Donovan Smith in this example, they got to play smarter. The problem for the Bucs, though, is that even if they want to pull Donovan Smith because of poor play, they don't have someone that's going to replace him. And even as bad as Donovan Smith plays, he is still a really great player when he's not drawing those stupid penalties. So absolutely, I think that's one of the things the Bucs are going to have to work on is not, getting those stupid penalties. And that's going to be a formula for success is if they can play real Donovan Smith in a little bit.
Absolutely. Look, the way I look at it with Donovan Smith, he also came out and said he's dealing with something personal. And I had a little bit of a problem with that, not because it's personal, because if you're not going to tell us what the personal thing is, and it could be a horrible thing, it could be something, something really big could be happening in his life. If you can't deal with this, but you're expecting us to deal with the poor play, you're like, give me a break, guys. I'm dealing with some stuff here. Oh, tell us a bit more about it. Well, I don't really want to. And it's like, well, it doesn't really work like that. You can't turn around and ask everyone to give you a break, and no one's going to sympathize with you. It's easier to sympathize with someone if you know what's going on in their life. Oh, okay, he's going through that. Okay, fair enough. There's people giving Tom Brady passes because of some of his poor play, because of what he's going through in his life, the turmoil that he was going through in his life. So, look, I'm a big believer in people aren't Madden players. They don't play at 85 all the time. Sometimes they'll play down as a 72. Sometimes they'll play at the 99. So I'm a very big believer in that. But lately, he has been playing poorly, and it has shown. And like you said, imagine how you would have felt. Can you remember when that touchdown was scored, and we all jumped up in the air, and then we saw the flag go, and we're like, "What was it for? What was it for?" And holding, and we're just like, "For the love of God!"
Yeah, I mean, it was a crazy moment out there, and I remember saying, it's kind of using some 4-letter words there, like, I'm not associated with a major podcast company. You're thinking, what the fuck's going on out here, basically. But one of the things that they're talking on about here too is, the Bucs found success with a hurry up offense. Todd Bowles on integrating hurry up into the Bucs offensive more often. We can implement it more. Obviously, you can't do it the whole game. The defense and the special teams would be worn out, but we can try to take advantage of some things. It's block here, a block there. And, that was what was one of the things that was changed, was kind of that hurry up offense and hurry up huddle, and just, kind of catching the Saints on their heels there a little bit. I mean, I know that Todd Bowles said that, you can't do that or you're going to burn the team out. But if it's going to get a win, and even if you have to kind of mix some different players in there, I'm all about doing whatever you got to do just to get the end result. You are a football player, coach footballing yourself there. Tell us a little bit about your opinion on that hurry up offense. And do you think it's sustainable, or do you think that was Todd Bowles just kind of making an excuse?
I think Todd Bowles has been making a lot of excuses. The excuse about we were playing for overtime and things like that. I don't like that. The sheer fact that they continue to run plays. So if you're going to play for overtime, then Tom Brady takes a knee. Right. It's that simple. Why would you even attempt to pass if you're playing for overtime? Anyway, that's in the past. Let's talk about this one. the problem, the thing you can do with the hurry up offense is you don't have to, like, he's right. It's not sustainable. He's absolutely right. But what you do is you catch it when the defense is going, oh God, this is just how. For example, you go in, you get a big play, a 10-yard run. All of a sudden they're reeling and, oh my God, we just got punched it's a gut punch, right? Now you go hurry up just for that rest of that drive. You don't have to go hurry up every single drive. It's just when you have a moment where you just catch them on their heels for a minute and they're dealing with something. Or for example, they lose a key player. I don't know, maybe he twists his ankle a little bit, needs a bit of attention. He goes off while he gets touched. The next play, boom, we're going hurry up. He can't get back on the field. We exploit that. That's when you use it. It's like key moments. I'm all for it. And yeah, he's right. You can't do it for a whole game. Of course, we know that. That's conditioning. It always comes down to that. This game's not going to be in the coolest state on the planet. So it is not something you can do all the time, but it's something that catches a defense off guard, because if you're in a nickel, now you can run the football a bit more because you've caught them out. So you run the football, boom, run the football, boom. Then you got that play action because they're a bit lighter in the box. They can't sub anyone in. So you take advantage of the personnel grouping. This is why it works well in college football, because a lot of colleges have the same person. They have very different. They don't have too many personnel groupings. They don't go 21 to 22 to 23 trips. Everything's pretty much the same every play, bar one or two little subtle changes, because they don't want to make their system too complicated, because they don't have a full off. They don't have a decent enough off season. They don't get to practice any real stuff. So it can be used. It just needs to be used sparingly, conservatively is probably the nicer way. When momentum is on your side, use it. That's what I say.
Right. And I think that one of those things in that case is that it worked so well that he was kind of put under the gun, and saying, well, why didn't you guys just do this the whole game? And I think kind of just his quick, knee-jerk response there was to say, well, we can't do it all the time. But, taking a look at the Bucs, the one glaring weakness for the Bucs defense in 2022 is they have just 11 takeaways, which is the fewest through 12 games of any Tampa Bay team in the franchise's 47-year history. Just 2 total in the last 8 games, one of those on a Hail Mary final play of the half. So just they have to work on that as well, and just making the most of the opportunities that they're afforded there.
The thing I like about this defense, and you're absolutely right, that we want to see more turnovers. This defense has been turnover savvy in past, but what they hadn't been as good at is getting down off on third down, and that seems to be the case this year. They're better at bending and not breaking, but they're not very good at the splash stuff, the sexy stuff, so to speak. And that's what we need to see a little bit more, especially in this game where it could come down to just 2 defenses going at it. If you can get that extra something, that forced fumble, that sack fumble, or you can pick that ball off and six it, or take it deep into their half, that Tom Brady only has to call very few plays, and and we're in the end zone, then it's great. Or we can keep the scoreboard ticking, depending on if we're in front by a good while. That's how I see it going down. We really need to do that. But they have been really good, considering how short-handed we are on the safety position. Both safeties will have to step up again. They have to be savvy. They have to play savvy. It's as simple as that. No Sean Murphy bunting, which I see Zion McCullum's going to get picked on again.
Yep. Yeah. Sean Murphy bunting was listed as questionable. Did you hear? Is he in fact going to be out of this game? Last I checked, he was questionable, but I know that's what they had kind of mentioned, that it's a possibility that he won't play. But just taking a look at this game in particular, the 49ers are 8-4, first place in the NFC West, 33-17 win over the Dolphins last week. Of course, that isn't the Dolphins of old. They're actually a pretty decent team this year. They're pretty dialed in. The Dolphins are also 8-4. I guess one of the things that the Bucs have on their side is that Jimmy Garoppolo will be out, but as it turns out, he won't need foot surgery. It says here he could return in the playoffs. Garoppolo is the second starting quarterback the 49ers have lost this season. Trey Lance suffered a season-ending ankle injury in week 2. The 49ers defense, like we were talking about in the first segment there, is playing lights out. So it is going to be a tough task out there. But just kind of taking a look a bit closer at Brock Purdy, who they called Mr. Irrelevant, NFL's Network's Mike Garofalo, on how San Francisco's 49ers seem pretty comfortable with quarterback Brock Purdy, despite quarterback Baker Mayfield's sudden availability, which we know he's got picked up. Purdy 22 was 2022's Mr. Irrelevant. Before Sunday, Purdy has appeared in just 3 NFL games. And, in limited sample size, he has appeared to be a pretty good quarterback, a backup quarterback, albeit, but I'm a lot more happy with the Bucs facing Brock Purdy than they are facing Garoppolo. And it's going to be interesting to see what they have. You have Tom Brady, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, playing against kind of an unproven commodity in Brock Purdy. But one of the things about that is, as well, is when the Bucs were playing the Steelers as well, that was with kind of a backup quarterback as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what Brock Purdy has in the tank. I know all the things that are spoke about him as being Mr. Irrelevant and all that, but it's going to be a good test for Brock Purdy. I heard his family's going to be at the game as well, and it's going to be a good measuring stick for this Bucs team as they take on one of the best teams. Oftentimes I hear people talk about, well, we're playing this really poor team coming up, so it's an easy win. I don't want to get a win against a really easy team. I want to get a win against a really tough team like the 49ers. That's the litmus test. That's the measuring stick, because if you're going to win the Super Bowl, you're going to have to beat the best of the best. And if you can rewind time a little bit, last year when the Bucs took on the Rams, we all know how that went there. Obviously, they got outworked there a little bit. So I want this Bucs team to keep the winning going forward, a nice win against the Saints. Can they now pick up a big win against the 49ers, who sit at number 1? That would be a huge morale boost, and I think it would change the complexion of this season altogether.
For sure. I mean, the Buccaneers have two games where they go up against winning teams. I mean, that could change with whatever other teams do down the line, but this is really, these next 2 games are crucial, and I'd like the Buccaneers to win both of them, because that's, as you just alluded to there, is the fact that if you're going to go into the playoffs, you don't want to be one and done, and the only way you're going to know that is by beating good quality competition. If it's close, it doesn't matter. This team has only beaten 2 winning football teams. I don't know if the Seahawks are still winning right now. It's still a winning football team, but they were when we played them. And of course, Dallas became a winning football team, but that was week 1. A lot of things can go wrong in week 1, and things don't always work that way. But it's a win nonetheless, and we have finally swept our arch nemesis in the Saints. So I would expect this Buccaneers team to be full of energy, rejuvenized. Again, we ticked something off a box that hadn't been done in a long time, not in Buccaneers history. And not only that, it's a team that this particular Bucs unit, from offense and defense, has struggled with. To have that mental edge to go into the next game, I would feel unbeatable, if I'm brutally honest, if I'd beaten somebody. And not the fact that the Saints were playing well, but they always seemed to have our number. Didn't matter who they had at quarterback. They always seem to have our number. So with the 49ers, that's how they got to come into this. Go, right, let's go and get some scalps. Let's get some scalps and put some respect back on our names, because people are going, oh, yeah, well, Tom Brady this. Let's forget about Tom Brady. We got Tom Brady. He's our boy, but let's go and show what the Buccaneers can do, not just what Tom Brady can do. Because when we win those close games, no one was talking about how the defense held a team to 17 points. No one, 16 points, or whatever, all the other games that we've won close. We don't talk about what the defense did. We talk about the Tom Brady 2 touchdowns, and we should, of course, but it's about Tom Brady, not the team, so to speak. It's like Tom Brady did this and Tom Brady did. Let's have a team game where all facets of Buccaneer football come to life. And I've only seen that in 2 games so far, and that was the Seattle Seahawks, and that was the Dallas Cowboys, where I saw a mixture of everything working. So that's why I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, and taking a look at this too, I mean, they have to make the most of all these games going forward here. I know that where they sit in the NFC South, but, one of these other teams, I guess, could potentially catch fire, like the Falcons or something like that, but there's not going to be any really easy outs, if you will. As you can see, the Bucs take on the Bengals next, and they are 8-4. That's going to be a tough one, but then you also kind of have to look out for those teams that you call an easy win. Those are what you call trap games. You go into them, you think they're going to be an easy win, because after that, the Bucs take on the 4-8 Cardinals. The week after that, the 4-8 Panthers. But what did we know? The Bucs played the Panthers earlier in the year, and they're like, well, at least we can pick up an easy win against the Panthers. Well, that obviously wasn't the case. And then in week 18, I guess that's to be determined the date there. They're going to play the Atlanta Falcons. So that is going to be a measuring stick there as well. So there's not going to be any, on paper, you could take a look at the Cardinals and you could take a look at the Panthers and say, well, those are going to be easy wins. But if there's one thing I've learned from watching this particular year's Bucs team, is that there's no sure things. And on any given day, there could be a stupid injury, and that could change the outlook for everything. Because, if we even take a look back in the offseason, we thought this team was stacked. We thought that, they were Russell Gage and Julio Jones, and they made all these huge acquisitions that this team was going to be so stacked, they were going to be tripping over each other. But then one of the things that we learned, Ryan Jensen got injured, and that changed everything. Now, the good outlook for that is that we are supposed to get Ryan Jensen back. I don't remember exactly what game it was pegged to be and what kind of Ryan Jensen we're going to have out there. But Ryan Jensen, and starting to get some of these players, hopefully, you mentioned Sean Murphy-Bunting, you can put Antoine Winfield Jr., you can put in Tristan Wirfs, we know all the names that are out there, Edwards, all these different players. What is the identity of this Bucs team once all of those players are in the mix? Once you can kind of put, those kind of scab fill-in players and reassign them and have these big names, get Wirfs back out there, get Jensen out there, this team could be poised to do some really huge things towards the tail end of the season, because you get Jensen back, you get Wirfs back, you get Murphy Bunting back, all your top players back. There's a really good chance, despite all the talking heads. I mean, I don't know if you watched the NFL Network earlier and ESPN. Everyone that I saw was picking the 49ers to win this game. And I would love nothing more than to prove all of them wrong. And, everyone's saying it's going to be an easy, a bad rest of the season for the Bucs this year because, they've kind of, sucked this year, but they're turning it on. And when you start to see all these key pieces come back towards the end of the season, I'm not going to write anything off. I'm not hey, this is going to be crazy. And people are going to say, Dan, are you nuts? And I might be. But I think that once all these players start coming back, I think there's a good chance they could make a big push into the playoffs and, dare I say, a Super Bowl. I'm never going to count Tom Brady out. If you want to remember what happened in the Super Bowl when he was playing for the Patriots versus the Falcons, let's not, dismiss this Bucs team already. I do think they are poised to do big things, and that's going to be due in part on the tail end of the season when these huge group of players start to come back.
I mean, there's no reason it can't. This team still has the potential to, but I've got another guest I was going to come in and bring him in now, and then if you want to stay with us and keep going.
Actually, I got to dip out here, but thank you very much for having me on the show again. And
we've been 35. We were about 30 minutes into it, so no worries, Dan.
All right, Dan, go Bucs!
Give me your score prediction.
I'm never one to predict scores. I just don't like to do that, but I do think that they're going to pick up a win. It's going to be similar to the last game where they're going to pull it out towards the end. I do think that the Buccaneers will win this game, but I don't think it's going to be an easy win. I'd love to be wrong and have it be an easy win, but I think it's going to be a game similar to the Saints where it's going to take some late game heroics from Tom Brady and everyone else pulling on the rope. And I do think they'll pick up a big W today. And that's a pretty good feeling going into next week.
Awesome, man. And as I always do, is I have my way of, instead of doing a score prediction, I call it the newspaper reaction. So you wake up the next day, you flip to the sports section, and there's the big headline for sports. What do you want that headline to say?
Brady and Mike Evans lead a Bucs to an unpredictable win, or something like that, or a win that wasn't predicted. I do think that it's going to be some really aired out passes by Tom Brady to either Evans or Godwin, something like that. I think it's going to be fireworks towards the end. I don't think it's going to be them winning on a field goal. I think it's going to be a little bit of shock and awe, if you will, like with what the Bucs did against the Saints. That is what I'm hoping for anyway. I think they have the potential. I think they have that positive momentum kind of pushing them in the back forward.
Absolutely. Dan, tell everyone where we can find you, and we'll see you soon. After maybe if you want to come on another show, you're always welcome, sir. Pump yourself.
Yeah, so you can find the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minicast on the Bucs Report as always, and then also we have the Bucs Report podcast, which is a weekly podcast. We've had James Yarko, Greg Amon, we've had the guests from the Associated Press on there. So it is a show rather that has some pretty big name guests on there. I've also had some big guests from the Bucs Report as well. So that is a weekly podcast every Friday, 5 p.m. Central, 6 Eastern. And so, yeah, check it out. And let's hope for a big win today, Bucs fans. I think they have it within them to do that. And let's just hope for that. Go Bucs!
Go Bucs. Cheers, brother. Now, bringing in the man himself, it's Carter Brantley of Creative Loafing. Sorry, you were backstage for ages. Trying to get through the stuff, so it's all good. From Creative Loafing and Carter's Corner. How you doing today, brother?
Doing well. Just watching some early football games. Was watching the Eagles blow the hell out of the Giants, and now the Cowboys might lose to the Texans. Although the Texans,
I looked up and I was like, "Ooh, this one could be tasty."
But the Texans are doing their best tank job. You know, they're pulling a Philadelphia 76ers trying to lose this game intentionally. It seems like they got Jeff Driscoll in at quarterback, but
yeah.
I digress. I'm excited for some Bucs football today for sure. Should be a good one.
And with the win last week, obviously, it was an unpredictable win because we snagged it right at the end. It was a real kind of ecstasy moment, you could say, because it was like that game looked like we had no business winning it. And all of a sudden, you get that one drive. Then the Buccaneers somehow, and I'm like, they're just going to burn the clock on us and we're done. But hey, let's see if we can maybe we can pop a ball out or something. That was what I was kind of expecting. If we're going to get back, I didn't think we'd 3-and-out them, if I'm honest. I thought we'd have to forcibly either take the ball away from their third down pass, or we'll be taking the ball away through popping it out in the run game. We don't. We end up getting them down on third down and played some exemplary football after that to snag the game and see those Saints fans cry.
Yeah, got a little help from Mark Ingram too. God bless him. He had that torn meniscus or whatever, the lower body injury, and they left him out there for some ungodly reason. So he had to pull up. But yeah, it was a strange end of the game, like you said, very unpredictable. So yeah, I mean, if the Bucs pull another one out this weekend like that, that'll be great news. But I don't know, it's going to be tough. It's definitely going to be tough sledding against the 49ers.
For sure, and our inactives include Kyle Trask, but that doesn't really count. Kyle Rudolph doesn't really count. Rashad Perriman doesn't really count. But then here's the ones that do count. We got a slot slot defender nickelback in Sean Murphy-Bunting, Antoine Winfield, the safety, and the starting safety of Mike Edwards, and obviously Tristan Wirfs is inactive too. That's a lot of big name players to be out when Cy McCullum got picked on a little bit in the last game, and I'm pretty sure the 49ers watched tape. So
for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle with all those guys out. When you have both of your starting safeties out and you're facing a team with George Kittle and Deebo Samuel on it, that's never a good thing. But luckily, 49ers are rocking Mr. Irrelevant, at QB, Brock Purdy. I was a little shocked that he played so well in that first game against the Dolphins last week, managed to pull out the victory. But we'll see if he's able to still maintain that same level of play this week against the Bucs, because Bucs defense, they've been playing pretty well, holding some teams to pretty low point totals. It's really disheartening to see them not force any turnovers, not get any takeaways defensively. That's really the big critique that I have with this defense, is that they're playing so well, but man, they just can't seem to force big plays.
The explosive plays aren't there.
Right. Yeah, on either side of the ball, the explosive plays aren't coming in because the offense can't seem to push the ball down the field, and defensively they can't seem to force any takeaways. So it's just two real negatives going forward. But we'll see if they can turn it around this weekend.
Sure, and I think that's something they've got to look at. I think the only way I see this Buccaneers team winning against San Fran is if they can shorten the field for the offense and get the scoreboard ticking over. This is the game where it's got to be done, but unfortunately they're short-handed, so it's going to be a taller task to do that. Obviously, our best pass rushers out. I don't really have a heck of a lot of faith as JTS as a defender versus, say, Anthony Nelson and Carl Nassib. I think they're both better than him. He's probably a better pure pass rusher than those guys, but they're more versatile in what they can do.
Sure.
But it is what it is, and you got to roll with those punches. And I'm sure Vita Vea, we're glad to have him back and what he can do with us. And then obviously since the Seahawks game, there's been nothing but greatness from Devin White. So I'm hoping he continues his form and just keeps bringing it. I think Levante David had quite a shining game last week as well. I thought that was probably one of his better games of the season. He's been a bit quiet, but hasn't played poorly, if you know what I mean. He's just been in that kind of like, if you're ranking a player, he's been consistently a 7. He's never really gone to that upper echelon of hitting 8s and 9s, whereas Devin White has been more overall, probably been a 7.5, but he's been like at 5s and 4s, but he's also hit 10s.
Right, absolutely, yeah. It's definitely been a very roller coaster season for White. That's definitely a good way of looking at it, and definitely more even keel for Levante David. But I guess that's kind of a good, Devin White's still 24. He's also been dealing with a lot of heavy stuff off the field.
Sure.
Levante David's a solid veteran presence. He's been around the game for so long. It seems like he can kind of do his job with his eyes closed at this point.
Consistency.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it'll definitely be exciting to see if Devin White can continue to make a big difference on the field from his position, especially just because the 49ers, they've got that tight end running back combo of McCaffrey and Kittle. So, White have to really, step his game up and field. Yeah, keep those guys kind of contained because, McCaffrey and Kittle can be game breakers when they get the ball in their hands. So,
absolutely. I mean, we've been able to contain Christian McCaffrey since we've had this Todd Bowles defense when he was with the Panthers. So it's not something they're new to, but I don't think they use him as a running back that much. They tend to use him more as a scat back and even then put him in the slot and what have you. So there's a little bit more that he brings to the table on the 49ers. They use him in a slightly different way to how he was used. I think he was used as everything in Carolina, and I think it just burnt him out, which is why he was getting injured a lot. He's not a big guy, he's a white boy. He drinks a lot of milk. He has to drink a lot of milk and just to stay in the game. So it's difficult when they're trying to use you in every single facet. You're going to get burnt out, and that's kind of what happened. I think for him, it's probably been like a new lease on life, so to speak, to go to this 49ers team where he doesn't have to kind of carry the burden, so to speak, because they do have a Deebo Samuel. They do have George Kittle, and they've got a good offensive line. They've got a good enough defense that they don't have to keep mashing the ball down the field. So for him, it's probably a great thing to have. But hey, we know we can hang with the best of them if we need to. And here's the thing I've been looking at. There's all these predictions of people saying what Tom Brady's going to do next season. Now, I don't want to look at what Tom Brady's going to do next season because we're in this season. However, we're playing an opponent that he could potentially play for that's kind of been in rumor mill. Mm-hmm. Is this a potential Tom Brady peep show where Tom Brady goes, I'm going to show you what you could be missing?
I hope so.
Have a bad game, you might go, maybe we don't want this guy.
Right. I mean, I hope he comes out and tries to earn himself a contract next season because then the Bucs will likely win today. If he goes out there trying to prove the 49ers that they need to sign him next year, then hey, good for him. He's still in a Bucs uniform right now. So, he'll
number one defense's ass. There you go.
Right. Absolutely. It's just going to be tough, with Wirfs out and, Donovan Smith playing as poorly as he is. And you got Nick Bosa leading the league in sacks coming off the edge, Arik Armstead up the middle. And they're the best defense in the NFL for a reason. I don't know. It's going to be a really, really, really tough sledding for Tom Brady in this offense. Because he looked nervous against the Saints, dropping back to pass. He looked very timid, just a lot of dump offs, a lot of little, just short passes, not a lot of verticality. And even when it was like, he'd overthrow Julio or he'd underthrow someone. I think they showed that stat where he had like a 30% completion percentage on throws or more. I mean, just brutal stuff.
He does not at the moment. He's not letting the roots develop. He's literally just going, boom, got it, get rid of it, and hopefully that guy can make a play on the ball. And some of the balls that we've seen thrown to Mike Evans' way, in particular, have been poor to just be described at best. It has even got me to a point where I was thinking, does he even want Mike Evans to catch this ball, or is he just trying to draw a flag because everyone holds on Mike Evans? Because It kind of feels like that, and we don't get fancy points for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Only flags with fancy points.
Yeah, fantasy points for any pass interference calls that Mike Evans draws. I feel you.
You do all right, wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah, that would be wonderful because he would be even better than he already is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because he's got such a big body, so guys have to kind of hold on to him while he's trying to haul in passes. But yeah, I'm with you. It definitely seems that way. It definitely seems like his throws aren't necessarily of the goal of making a pass down the field and making a completion, but more just kind of timidly trying to draw a flag, like you said. And that's no way to play the game of football, even though the refs do protect the passing a whole lot. It's a passing league, so I get it.
I get it, but I don't like it.
Yeah. I feel you. I feel you. And they have one of the worst offenses in the league, so it's clearly not really working that well.
No,
yeah.
So now you have to go and be lethal. But I think this is the moment where they are sitting on plays and they are like kind of being purposely what's the best word, conservative, because they don't want to give too much away because they're trying to say something for the playoffs, which is what I'm praying and hoping is happening. This is the time. We've got 2 big games coming up, and we need to convert at least one of them. One of these has to be converted. The reason why is, I believe we can go the next 3 games after that and win them. I honestly do. But we're going to be one of those teams that go like this in the playoffs and then go like this in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Walk in, walk out. And we don't want that. We don't want that happening. We want to go out in there, take a team like a 49ers who will be a playoff team and go, right, okay, now we can beat playoff level teams. Now we know we can go beat anybody, because there's got to be a level of doubt to a degree. I'm not saying this team's short of confidence at all. I don't think so, but there's something that creeps into the back of your mind. And this Saints sweep was a big obstacle to overcome. And I'm hoping it's rejuvenated them thinking, hang on, we just beat this team who could beat us with anybody at quarterback. It felt like last year. It didn't matter who they put there. They could have put me back there. I can't throw to save my life.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they won with last year. Yeah, like you said.
They could have put anyone. They could have put anyone back there, because it just felt like it didn't matter who they put in there. I can't even remember who they played back there at the end when Jameis Winston got hurt, and we ended up sucking against them as well. And it was just hard to watch. But the Buccaneers finally do it. It's like the most. I'd say for me, I see it as like a huge mental obstacle to overcome. And I was kind of hoping when we did it the first time that it was just going to make this team just explode. That was my kind of hoping. Oh wow, the confidence they must have going through. We beat the freaking Saints that we couldn't beat for 2 years with Tom Brady, the GOAT. They've had our number. Come rain or shine, where it was played, whether it was played on a beach, where it was played in water, where it was played, it doesn't matter. They were going to beat us, and there was nothing we could do about it. And now we've beaten them. And I was like, okay, we're going to go straight to straight. Then we lose 2.
Right. Yeah.
I'm hoping this time it's like, wow, we've done it. We've swept this team. Let's go take it to the next team. And the Buccaneers have been, in my opinion, sometimes a little guilty of playing down to their competition. So I'm hoping they play up to this competition, if you get me.
Right. For sure. Yeah. I mean, if you lose to the Panthers and the Steelers, you're absolutely playing down to your competition. That's a great way. Yeah.
And it felt like, because we kind of leave teams to hang around, and good teams will win those games. That's why we win them. We win them. We have a very good quarterback with good enough talent around him that he can go and make those explosive plays, and he's renowned for doing it. But what you don't want to do is just sit on those leads, and it feels like that we're very comfortable going, oh yeah, well, our defense will be able to protect this. Our defense will be able to protect this. We'll be able to protect this. And it's like, can we just be a bit more lethal and just put ourselves out of sight? Because that's how it felt like last year. We just keep going. And we're talking Tom Brady going, oh, I left like 2 touchdowns on that field. I wish I could go get him. And we're like, dude, you won by 30 points. What are you talking about? And we're like, okay, yeah, cool. Like it. Now it's just like we're accepting, like, oh yeah, the average now is going to be like 18 to 20, between 18 and 18 points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're the bottom. They're one of the bottom 5 scoring offenses in the NFL. Yeah, and they're putting up 16, 17, 18 points a game. It's discouraging to watch.
And the yardage from the pass game are actually pretty good. So we can move the football. We just can't seem to do anything with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of red zone struggles, which that tends to really rear its ugly head when you can't run the ball at all. And the Bucs are the worst offensive team running the football in the NFL. They were on pace to be the worst offensive team running the ball in the history of the league for a little bit. I think they've escaped that, fortunately, but they're still not very good. They're still the worst right now. So yeah, when you can't run the ball in the red zone, teams kind of peer their ears back, get after the quarterback, and the field is shortened, so it's really difficult to score points down there. As you said, it's it's tough. It's tough.
Absolutely, man. So give me your 3 keys that the Buccaneers need to do this game to win it.
I think they need to put Brock Purdy on his butt, so to speak. I think they need to get after him. And I think it starts with Vita Vea. So I think Vita Vea is a big key to getting after Brock Purdy, because that interior San Francisco offensive line is very suspect at best. They got Trent Williams, the best left tackle in the NFL, but that interior is tough. So that's one. Another is getting takeaways on defense, because the 49ers is so good that they're going to be able to pretty much shut down this Bucs offense for the most part. So if you can create some turnovers, like you said, switch field position, create some momentum plays, huge for this game to, just get out in front of it. Get out in front of it. Don't try to come back later, because the 49ers are not the Saints. They actually have a good defense. They're well coached.
I'm not going to let you do it now. I agree.
Yeah, so it's, just get out in front of it, force some turnovers. Don't rely on Tom Brady to come back at the end. So the third key, I think, is definitely going to be, just kind of, I don't know. I mean, run the football, really. I mean, there's so many other things that you really need to focus on, but running.
You can only pick 3, and you can turn around and get 5, or 6, or even more. I need to do this right. All these boxes need ticking. But I agree with you on the defense. The defense has to be able to force Brock Purdy to pass the football and then take it away from him. That's my thing. I don't know if they'll potentially sack him, but with what you're saying about their interior offensive line, this is where someone like Devin White gets to shine, because he can ride the rump of Vita Vea, or they can get some we know that he's creative with his pressure, so maybe they bring in a 4-man line and they have some slants and stunts that really confuse them with a Devin White or a Levante David, and mix them two up in it as well. We could be hitting home big on a regular basis, and then they have to start doing other things. The second thing is Tom Brady needs to be able to he's going to have to take a lick. It's going to happen at some point. You're not going to. I know he's thinking the next play, the next drive, the next. Eventually, that it shrivels up and there's nothing there, and you've got no momentum, so you've got nothing carrying you. This high octane offense, when we go hurry up, has had a lot of success. Now he has been. Todd Bowles was asked that does he think this doing this. Why don't they do this more often? And he did say, well, it's not sustainable. And he's absolutely right. However, when you get a gut punch in say, for example, a White run for 10 to 15 yards, hit that turbo button, because they will be reeling from that hit. They're like, oh my God, we just gave up this. Because it's when you're a good defense, be punched in the mouth like that, it makes them take notice. So what they end up doing is they can't sub in. Be aware of what packages they're in. If they're in a nickel package and you run the football and you just had great success, run the football again in high octane that they can't get the heavier guys in. If they go light in the box, take advantage of it. Just play smart situational football as it opens, and use that speed when you need to, and then slow down when you need to. Manipulate the time. Was that 3? I can't remember.
I don't even remember either, brother. I got into it. I'm with you. It's definitely weird. I get what he's saying with just the sustainability aspect of going no huddle all the time, but good Lord, like mix it up a little bit, Like it's clear that they've been so successful on 2 minutes. So just mix it in a little bit, every now and then, just like you said, got advantage. Don't sub, just keep moving. If you got an advantage, keep taking advantage.
That one, say, like a deep shot, like for a 20-yard gain, and they're reeling from that. They're like, oh God, we need to do this. Okay, now we're going full speed, and they're like, oh God, we don't know how to we can't recover, because they haven't had chance to bed in, get themselves set. Because this is the point where people make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, I'm looking at it from a defensive perspective here. When you make a mistake, usually the captain of your defense will pull you aside and go, "Are you okay? Or do you need to go out or whatever? Or can't focus next play. If he's reeling from that one, he's going to be really reeling about the next one. So you just keep going. You keep hitting it and you're hitting it and you're hitting it. And then they're like, oh my God, we can't stop this team. And that might bed into the entire team. They go, Jesus, we got to really turn this around, because they were lethal. Obviously, you can't do it all the time. But
right.
The moments, when you got momentum, that's when you hit it. Go turbo, make them confuse them, stop them from subbing. You see Nick Bosa has been injured. He may have to go and get treatment at some point in the game because he hurts himself a little bit. He needs to get looked at, miss a play. Now we're going to attack that. We're going to attack that edge. Now we attack that side because we know he can't defend. That we don't have that defender in. Take advantage of the matchups. You're playing chess, not checkers. Let's see where the queen. If the queen's off the board because she's looking at something else, then let's go and attack. Let's go and attack the king. Let's go and do something.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great point. Especially with the Bosa thing. I love that. I love that point right there because, you know, if he's off the field and he's getting treatment, like you said, he's dealing with an injury, then keep him off the field. You know, don't let him
get back in.
Yeah. Keep it rolling, keep it moving. Yeah, I'm with you. But, you know, Todd Bowles he's a defensive-minded coach, and he seems to be of the mindset that, you know, that doesn't really work, I guess. I don't know.
Possibly not. I mean, it all depends on the communications between these two. We don't know how much responsibility that Byron has. So is he allowed to call the hurry up offense whenever he wants to? Is there a certain procedure based on I'm going to go hurry up on this?
Mm-hmm.
What does that really look like? We don't know because we're not part of that, because we're watching the game, right?
Right.
But because the game's going to kick off in about 15 minutes, and I'm sure we all want to get snacks and drinks and food and what have you. Kai, you're opening up the sports pages tomorrow. What does that headline tell you? What do you want it to say?
Well, what I want it to say is Tom Brady has historic day, leads Bucs to victory over 49ers. What I think it's going to say is Bucs no match for 49ers, get dominated in defensive battle. I'm a realist. I'm certainly not going to sit here and lie to anyone.
I know you're very you said you're very glass half full for sure.
Yeah, or glass half. Yeah. It's just, you know, got to be real. It's the best defense in the NFL. It's one of the worst offenses in the NFL. That's not usually for success.
Best challenge.
For sure.
For me, I've got Bucs win the Battle of the Bays.
Okay, that's a good one.
We'll go under because it's a good underdog story. I'm sure if we do win, it's going to be coming from behind. I just don't see it happening. But who knows what's going to happen in this game? Football's a very interesting thing. We're already seeing teams that shouldn't be winning games, and we see this all the time. So why not us? But I wanted Buccaneers going to win. Make a statement.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions just beat the Vikings, so you know anything can happen.
Anything can happen, and there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. Be the Lions. Be a lion. be a lion today, not the last few weeks.
Right.
Okay, Carter, tell us where we can catch you at and what you're doing lately, and where we can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Bucs Report, obviously, with Carter's Corner. You can also find me on Creative Loafing. I've been working for them for so long, it feels like. So yeah, just catch me there. CT Brantley 12 is my Twitter username. If you want to follow me, you know, give me a shout. And yeah, that's really it.
Brother. So that will be that's us for today on the pre-game show. We will be doing the post-game show once the game's done, probably about 10 minutes after the post-game. Carter, it's been real. It's always a pleasure. And I will see you soon, maybe in another one of the shows, because we always pop up and chat to each other. I'll see you soon, brother.
All right, man. Have a good one. Hope the Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Sir, go Bucs.